A girl's gift tames a beast, but can it change her life in a dusty southern town? One moment sparks a journey from streets to stardom. You won't believe what happens next. Watch now to see Asha's rise. Don't miss this heart-pounding story. The air in Jasperville crackled with heat, the kind that choked dreams and left only dust in its wake. 12-year-old Asha, her dark skin slick with sweat, darted through the market square, her tattered sneakers slapping the cracked pavement. She was a ghost to this southern town, poor, black, and unwanted, her existence a bruise on their pride. They called her runt or stray, their voices sharp as knives. But Asha carried a secret that burned brighter than their hate. She could tame any beast with a whisper, her voice weaving through their fears like a song. Dogs fell silent at her glance. Alley cats trailed her like shadows. Yet in this town of clenched fists and narrow minds, her gift was just kindling for their scorn. She crouched behind a fruit stall, hunger gnawing at her ribs. A half-rotten peach lay within reach. But before she could grab it, a voice sliced through the market's hum. "There's that filthy thief again." Mr. Harlan, the butcher, loomed over her, his blood-stained apron flapping, his eyes glinting with malice. A woman nearby cackled, her words venomous. "Lock her in a cage with her mangy friends." The crowd's laughter was a whip, each jeer lashing Asha's heart. She clenched her fists, swallowing the fire in her throat. She'd learned to endure, to let their cruelty sharpen her edges. Then a scream shattered the air, raw, desperate, like glass breaking. Asha's head whipped around. The crowd parted, revealing a scene that stopped her breath. A monstrous bulldog, its brindle coat taut over rippling muscle, thrashed against a leash, its jaws snapping with feral rage. Foam dripped from its fangs, its roars shook the square. At the other end of the leash stood a woman who seemed carved from light. Caitlin Voss, billionaire model, was a vision in a white dress that flowed like moonlight, its fabric catching the sun as if woven from stars. Her Vogue-perfect face was taut with panic, her arms trembling as she fought to hold the beast. "Winston, please," she begged, her voice breaking, her heels skidding on the dusty street. The crowd recoiled, their whispers a rising tide. "That's Caitlin Voss," someone gasped. "That dog's a killer," another hissed. Asha felt Winston's fury, a storm of fear and pain pulsing through her like lightning. He wasn't just angry, he was lost, screaming in a language only she could hear. Her pulse thundered. This was her moment, her chance to be more than a shadow. "Stay back, you idiot!" a man bellowed as Asha surged forward, her small frame weaving through the gawkers. She ignored him, her eyes locked on Winston's. The world faded, the crowd's gasps, the heat, the weight of their hate. "Easy, boy," she said, her voice low, steady, carrying a power that hummed in the air. The bulldog's snarls faltered, his ears flicked. The crowd's jeers died, replaced by a stunned hush. Caitlin's grip on the leash loosened, her eyes wide with shock as Winston's growls melted into silence. Asha knelt, fearless, her hand extended. Winston's massive head dipped, his wet nose grazing her fingers. She felt his heart slow, his trust unfurling like a flag in the wind. "You're safe," she whispered, and the beast lay down, his tail thumping the ground like a drum. The square was a graveyard of open mouths. Caitlin stepped closer, her white dress glowing against the drab storefronts, her perfume, jasmine and elegance, cutting through the dust. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice a mix of wonder and disbelief. Asha rose, wiping her hands on her frayed jeans, her chest tight with defiance and pride. "I'm Asha," she said, her voice cutting through the silence. "I talk to animals." The words landed like a challenge, daring the crowd to laugh now. Mr. Harlan's smirk vanished. The cackling woman looked away, shamed. Caitlin's gaze, though, was a lifeline, intense, searching, alive with possibility. "You're extraordinary," Caitlin said. her perfect lips curving into a smile that felt like a door opening. "Asha, I need someone like you." The words hit Asha like a thunderclap, shaking the ground beneath her. In that moment, under the blazing Jasperville sun, her gift wasn't just a secret, it was a spark that could set her world ablaze. The Jasperville sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in bruises of purple and gold. Asha stood in the market square, her heart still racing from Winston's transformation and Caitlin's words, "I need someone like you." The crowd lingered, their whispers a low hum, no longer mocking, but curious, uncertain. Mr. Harlan and his cronies had slunk away, their venom silenced by Asha's display. For the first time, Asha felt seen, not as a stray, but as something powerful, something real. Yet the weight of Caitlin's gaze, sharp and expectant, pressed against her like a storm cloud. Caitlin knelt to pet Winston, who nuzzled her hand, docile as a lamb. Her white dress, pristine despite the dust, caught the fading light, making her seem almost otherworldly. "Asha," she said, standing, her voice smooth but firm. "Come with me. Let's talk." Asha hesitated. The square, with its familiar stalls and hostile faces, was all she'd ever known. Caitlin was a stranger, a glittering enigma whose world felt as distant as the stars. But hunger gnawed at her, and the promise in Caitlin's eyes, hope, maybe, was stronger than fear. They walked to a sleek black SUV parked at the square's edge, Winston trotting beside them. The townsfolk watched, their murmurs trailing like smoke. "She's gonna get herself in trouble," a woman muttered. "Fancy lady like that don't care about strays," said another. Asha's jaw tightened, but she kept her eyes on Caitlin, who moved with the grace of someone untouched by doubt. Inside the SUV, the leather seats smelled of wealth, and the air was cool, a stark contrast to Jasperville's stifling heat. Winston curled up at Asha's feet, his warmth grounding her. Caitlin's driver, a silent man in a crisp suit, pulled onto the main road. "I'm in town for a charity gala," Caitlin explained, her manicured fingers tapping her phone. "Winston's been difficult since I adopted him. No trainer could handle him. Then you came along." Her eyes met Asha's, searching. "That wasn't just luck. You have a gift." Asha shifted, uncomfortable under the praise. "It's just what I do," she mumbled. But Caitlin's smile was unrelenting. "It's more than that. I run a foundation for animal welfare. I could use someone like you, train you, give you a future." A future. The word hit Asha like a gust of wind, stirring dreams she'd buried long ago. A bed that wasn't a cardboard box. Food that didn't come from scraps. A life where she wasn't invisible. But doubt crept in, cold and familiar. Why would someone like Caitlin care? Jasperville had taught Asha that kindness always had a price. She glanced at Winston, his steady breathing a reminder of what she could do. Maybe, just maybe, this was real. They arrived at a sprawling estate on the town's outskirts, its iron gates gleaming under floodlights. The mansion loomed, all white columns and ivy, a world Asha couldn't fathom. Inside, chandeliers glittered, and staff bustled, preparing for the gala. Caitlin led Asha to a quiet study, its walls lined with books and framed photos of her with celebrities, politicians, animals. "Sit," Caitlin said, gesturing to a plush chair. Asha perched on its edge, her frayed jeans stark against the opulence. Winston flopped beside her, his presence a shield. "I want to sponsor you," Caitlin said, leaning forward. "Training, education, a place in my foundation. You could change lives, animals and peoples." Asha's throat tightened. It sounded too good, like a fairy tale. "Why me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Caitlin's expression softened. "Because I see you, Asha. You're not just surviving, you're shining." Before Asha could respond, a sharp knock interrupted. A man in a tailored suit entered, his face all angles and impatience. "Caitlin, we need you at the gala." And his eyes flicked to Asha, narrowing. "Who's this?" Caitlin's smile tightened. "This is Asha, my guest." The man, introduced as Marcus, her manager, scoffed. "You're wasting time on a kid. We have investors waiting." His tone was ice, his gaze slicing through Asha like she was nothing. Caitlin's jaw clenched, but she didn't argue. "We'll talk later," she told Asha, standing. "Stay here, I'll be back." Left alone, Asha's mind churned. Marcus's disdain echoed the townsfolk's, stirring old wounds. Was Caitlin's offer just a whim, a rich woman's fleeting fancy? The study's grandeur felt suffocating now, its silence mocking her hopes. Winston whined, sensing her unease. She stroked his fur, grounding herself. Then she heard voices outside, Marcus, hissing to someone on the phone. "Caitlin's distracted by some street kid. If she pushes this, it'll tank the Foundation's image. We need to shut this down." Asha's blood ran cold. The twist was clear. Caitlin's world wasn't just glittering, it was ruthless. And Asha, with her gift and her dreams, was already a threat. The study's air was thick. The weight of Marcus's overheard words, "She'll tank the Foundation's image," coiling around Asha like smoke. Winston's steady breathing at her feet was her only anchor in the mansion's suffocating grandeur. The framed photos of Caitlin with rescued animals mocked her, each smile a reminder that this world of wealth and purpose might never be hers. Yet Caitlin's voice, "You're shining," burned in her chest, a defiance against Jasperville's lifelong lesson she was nothing. Asha's fingers curled into fists. She'd prove them wrong. She had to. The gala's music pulsed through the walls, a glittering facade of violins and clinking glasses. Asha paced, her sneakers scuffing the rug. When the door opened, a young server, Lila, slipped in with a tray of champagne flutes, her eyes widening at Asha. "You're the girl who tamed that dog," she whispered, her name tag glinting. "Everyone's talking about you out there. But watch out, Caitlin's manager, Marcus, is telling folks you're trouble." Asha's jaw tightened. "What kind?" Lila glanced at the door, lowering her voice. "Says you're too rough for Caitlin's brand. Investors are listening. They want someone fancy. Not..." She stopped, but Asha knew not a black kid from the streets. Lila's eyes softened. "Caitlin's defending you, though," heard her snap at Marcus. "She believes in you." The words sparked something in Asha. Hope, sharp and dangerous. Before she could respond, Caitlin swept in, her white dress glowing like a beacon, her face etched with strain. Lila vanished with her tray. Winston stirred, his tail thumping. "Asha, I'm sorry for the wait," Caitlin said, her voice frayed. "This gala's a battlefield. Investors, egos. But I stand by what I said. Your gift is extraordinary. I want you in my foundation." Asha's heart raced, but doubt clawed at me. "Your manager thinks I'm a mistake," she said, her voice cutting. "Heard him say I'd ruin you." Caitlin's eyes blazed, her elegance giving way to fury. "Marcus is a coward, obsessed with appearances. My foundation isn't about polish, it's about impact. You're proof of that." Her conviction cracked Asha's walls, but the gala's noise, laughter, a sudden crash, interrupted. Caitlin sighed. "I need to handle this." "Stay," Asha cut her off, standing. "I'm done hiding. Let me come." Winston rose, his bulk a silent vow. Caitlin nodded, a flicker of pride in her eyes. "All right, let's go." The gala was a dazzling storm, silk gowns, diamond cufflinks, and judgmental stares. Asha felt each glance like a blade, but Winston's calm presence steadied her. The crowd parted, their whispers trailing her like shadows. Marcus stood by a marble fountain, his voice booming to a knot of investors. "Caitlin's vision is bold, but this girl, she's a liability." His gaze landed on Asha, his smirk cold, The investors, men in suits, women in pearls, murmured, their eyes dissecting her frayed jeans, her defiant stance. Caitlin stepped forward, her voice a whip. "Marcus, stop." The room froze, all eyes on her. Asha isn't a liability, she's a miracle. She tamed a dog no expert could. Marcus scoffed. "A fluke. You think this kid can represent your brand?" An investor, a woman with a sharp bob, chimed in. "She's unconventional. The press will tear her apart." Asha's blood boiled. She wasn't a prop to be judged, she was power, raw and real. Then a low growl cut through the tension. From the garden doors, a massive German shepherd, part of the gala's security, had slipped its handler. Its hackles rose, its eyes wild, barking furiously at the crowd. Guests screamed, backing away, glasses shattered on the floor. The handler shouted, yanking a useless leash. Asha felt the dog's panic, a torrent of fear and instinct, calling to her. This was her moment. She stepped forward, ignoring Caitlin's sharp, "Asha!" The crowd gasped as she faced the shepherd, her small frame dwarfed by its snarling bulk. "Hey, you," she said, her voice low, weaving a calm no one else could hear. The dog's barks faltered, its ears twitched. Asha knelt, fearless, her eyes locked on its. "You're all right," she whispered, her gift pulsing like a heartbeat. The shepherd's growls ceased. It lowered its head, then lay down, its tail wagging faintly. The room was a tomb of stunned silence. Asha stood, her chest heaving, her gaze sweeping the crowd. "I don't know brands," she said, her voice clear, unshaken. "But I know animals. I can help them. That's what I do." The woman in pearls clapped slowly. Others joined. A ripple of awe. Marcus's face was stone, his power crumbling. Caitlin's eyes shone with tears and pride. "That's my girl," she said, loud enough for all to hear. The investors exchanged glances, nodding. The tide had turned. Asha's gift wasn't just real, it was unstoppable. The gala's air buzzed with a new energy, the echoes of Asha's triumph over the German shepherd rippling through the crowd. The investors' skeptical murmurs had softened into intrigued whispers. The woman in pearls now watched Asha with a thoughtful nod. Marcus stood by the fountain, his face a mask of barely concealed fury, his influence unraveling like a frayed thread. Caitlin's hand rested briefly on Asha's shoulder, a silent promise. "We're not done yet." Winston, ever loyal, pressed against Asha's leg, his warmth a steady reminder of her power. The night was hers to claim. Caitlin raised her voice, addressing the room with a clarity that silenced the last of the chatter. "Tonight, you saw what I've seen in Asha, a gift that transcends wealth, polish, or pedigree. My foundation isn't just about saving animals, it's about lifting up those who can change the world. Asha is that change." Her eyes swept the crowd, daring dissent. The investors shifted, some nodding, others scribbling notes. Marcus stepped forward, his voice oily but strained. "Caitlin, let's not rush. The board needs to discuss." Caitlin cut him off, her tone steel. "The board will follow my lead, Marcus, or they'll find a new leader." A gasp rippled through the room. Asha's pulse quickened. Caitlin was risking everything, her reputation, her control for her. The weight of it was dizzying, but Asha stood taller, her fear burned away by purpose. She wasn't just a girl from Jasperville's alleys anymore. She was a force, and this she was ready to show it. The gala ended with a flurry of handshakes and promises. Investors approached Asha, their cards pressed into her hand, their words a blur of opportunity. "We'll be in touch," said the man in glasses, his smile genuine. Asha nodded, clutching the cards like talismans. Caitlin pulled her aside, her eyes fierce with pride. "You did it, Asha. They're on board. We start next week. Training, a home, a future." Asha's throat tightened. A home, the word felt like sunlight after years of shadow. But Marcus hadn't vanished. As the guests dispersed, he cornered Caitlin near the garden, his voice low and venomous. "You think this kid's your legacy? She'll drag you down. The press will eat her alive." Asha, overhearing from the shadows, stepped forward, Winston at her side. "I'm not scared of the press," she said, her voice steady, cutting through his bluster. "I've faced worse than words, and I'm not alone anymore," Winston growled softly, emphasizing her point. Caitlin smirked, folding her arms. "You're done, Marcus. The foundation's mine, and Asha's with me. Find a new job." His face crumpled, his bravado gone. He slunk away, a man defeated not by force but by truth. The villain had fallen, not with a bang, but with a whimper. Days later, Asha stood in a sunlit training yard on Caitlin's estate, Winston and a dozen rescued dogs at her feet. Her gift flowed freely now, each animal responding to her voice, their trust a mirror of her own healing. Caitlin had secured a small apartment for her, simple but hers, with a bed that didn't creak and a window that caught the morning light. School would start soon, tailored to her needs, and the foundation's team was building a program around her skills. The press had begun to call, their stories framing her as a prodigy, not a pity case. Jasperville's sneers were fading, replaced by cautious respect when she walked its streets. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Asha sat with Caitlin on the estate's porch. Winston sprawled between them. "You changed everything," Caitlin said, her voice soft. Asha shook her head, a smile tugging at her lips. "You gave me a chance. I just took it." She looked out at the horizon, where the sky blazed with color. The girl who'd once hidden in alleys was gone. In her place stood Asha, unshakable, her gift a beacon for a world that needed hope. The future wasn't perfect. There'd be challenges, doubters, setbacks, the weight of her own dreams. But Asha knew she could face them. She'd tamed beasts, silenced critics, and claimed her place. Jasperville was just a dot on the map now, and her story was only beginning. Asha's gift transformed a ferocious dog in her own destiny, rising from a small-town street to a brighter future with Caitlin's help. Thank you for watching this inspiring journey. Subscribe, like, and comment to share your thoughts. Let us know what moved you most in Asha's story.